Welcome back, you guys. Okay, today we're going to talk about how shame is not just an emotion, but it's actually a core belief. Yes. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me on Trauma Talks. Okay. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, it's never enough? That quiet voice that whispers, something is wrong with me? Yeah. Have you ever felt that? That voice is the voice of shame, you guys. I want to clear some things up for you today and really help you to really understand what's going on, okay? First of all, guilt says I did something wrong, but shame says that I actually am wrong. Okay, my very core of me, of who I am, my very core of my essence is wrong. And when that belief takes root, it doesn't just affect what we think, it shapes who we believe we are. Yes, it shapes our identity, you guys. Okay, so for many of us, shame becomes a lens. It colors how we see ourselves, others, and even how we see God. Yeah, isn't that deep? But here's the truth, you guys. Shame isn't your identity, okay? It's an injury, yes. And today we're going to break that down, okay? In this video, we're going to talk about how it's formed, how the brain shapes us in it, and how faith and compassion can set us free. Yes, okay? So thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. I am so excited to be here with you today. And I'm so excited to share this very, very important information for you, okay, on shame, because shame can be easily be developed in trauma. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when people have deep trauma wounds, that's where it happens. Okay, so shame is not just an emotion, you guys. I want you to understand that it's a belief system, and this is what it says. It says that I am unworthy of love. And when we've lived through emotions where love felt conditional, yes, when affection depended on behavior, or silence felt safer than honesty, the message settles in deep inside of us. I'm only lovable if I perform. I'm only safe if I disappear. Yes. So that's where it starts to settle in. Those deep messages begin to formulate this shame. Okay. So these early messages don't just live in their memory, though, you guys. They shape the wiring of the brain over time. The mind begins to confuse identity with performance. Yes. Okay. So instead of I made a mistake, we start to believe that I am a mistake. Yeah, that is my very identity. Isn't that awful? That's the core belief that does that. Okay. So that's why shame feels permanent. That's why. It's not just a thought, you guys. It's a story your brain learned to tell you about who you are. Yeah. It's a whole story, okay? Yes. So let's get into this, okay? Let's get deeper into the identity trap of shame, okay? Because it's really trapping your identity. The true person who you are, you probably don't even really truly know who that is because of shame. So when shame becomes an identity, it infiltrates every area of your life. You might find yourself people pleasing, saying yes to things that drain you, terrified of rejection. Yeah, that's a core shame belief. Yeah, okay. Or maybe you isolate yourself, building walls so high that no one ever can truly see you or really reach you and connect with you. Okay, so in your career, shame disappears, or excuse me, it whispers. It doesn't disappear, it whispers. You don't belong here. That's imposter syndrome. Okay, have you ever heard of imposter syndrome? Not a lack of skills, but a deeply held belief of unworthiness. And spiritually, shame lies to us. Okay, yeah, even with spirituality, it lies to us. It says you're too far gone for grace to reach you. That's how it affects you really spiritually. Okay, but grace was never about earning. Okay, it was always about being loved, even when we couldn't earn it. God love isn't performance based. It's presence based. You hear that? Presence based. And his presence meets us even in the places we're most ashamed to show. Yes. Okay. So let's get deeper into this. Okay. All right. Trauma and the brain. Okay. We got to explain the neuroscience behind this. You know that. Okay. All right. All right. So why does shame feel so powerful? so hard to escape. Okay, how does it feel that way? Neuroscience actually has an answer to this. Okay, so when a child experiences neglect, criticism, or unpredictable love, the brain adapts for survival. It has to adapt for survival. Okay, what happens is the amygdala, the alarm center, becomes overactive. It stays on high alert, always scanning for danger, criticism, or rejection. Yes, constantly in hypervigilant mode. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part that reasons, okay, hopes and regulates, struggles to quiet the alarm. Yeah, it struggles to quiet the alarm. It's always going off on every little thing that's happening around it. Okay, so the brain literally begins to wire itself around one message: I am not enough. Isn't that horrible? Every time that thought repeats, the neural pathway strengthens. Right. So every time that thought repeats, and sometimes it's an unconscious thought, not even a conscious thought, the more it repeats, the more believable it feels. Yes. But here's the hope, you guys. What the brain learned, it can unlearn. Neuroplasticity means those same pathways can be reshaped by new experiences, especially ones rooted in compassion and love. Yes. Okay. So I want to help you with this, help you figure out how to do this, help you be able to implement this in your life. So you're not broken, you guys. Your brain simply is adapted to survive. Okay, I work with many patients like this, and they're able to overcome. They're able to learn how to get to the root of that shame, okay, that's been embedded in their personality. Shame often feels like exposure. Like if someone really knew you, they'd turn away. Yeah, you don't want to be exposed, excuse me. It pushes us into secrecy. Yes, and secrecy feeds more shame. That's another derivative of it. It sounds like this. Don't get too close. Don't get too close. Okay, you notice people who don't want to get too close? Shame. They'll see the real you. Stay perfect, or they'll find out you're a fraud. Yeah, that's a big one. You can't pray. You're too far gone. Shame. That's shame's voice. You got to know how to identify shame's voice, okay? If you don't know how to identify it, it's not going to work. You're going to always get trapped in it, okay? So let's get deeper into this. The places that you hide are the exact places grace wants to meet you. That's the message that God has for you, okay? That's the message, not that you need to continue to fall prey to these voices of shame, okay? So let's get into healing with faith and self-empathy, you guys, okay? Healing shame doesn't mean pretending, you guys. It never happened. No, that's not what I'm telling you. It means meeting it with something stronger than compassion, okay? All right, something stronger, okay? That's faith. Faith reminds us that our worth isn't achieved, it's inherited. You were created in the image of God before the world began, okay? Okay, before the world told you otherwise, okay? You were created. When we respond to shame with empathy instead of self-judgment, the brain starts to rewire. Every time you say to yourself, it's okay to be human, the old pathway of shame weakens. Yes. And a new one grows. Yes. Okay. So every time you block that shame thought, yes, you begin to create that new, strengthen that new neural pathway. Okay. So self-empathy is agreeing with what God already says. That's what you need to do. Okay. About you, what God already said about you, that you are loved, seen, and chosen. Okay. Grace is not about overlooking your pain. It's about rewriting the story it told you. Okay. We know we had pain, but the story that the pain that you created from the pain is really what's causing you the most of the problems, okay? To be honest with you, okay? So shame may have written the first chapter of your story, but it doesn't get to write the ending. You get to write the ending. You get to flip that story, okay? Take a breath and ask yourself, what story have I believed about who I am? Where did that story begin? Yes. Where did that story begin? And is it actually true? Is the story true that I told myself? Okay, because a lot of the times it's just built out of shame, out of trauma. Okay, you're not the lies. Shame told you that you are. You're not the things that happened to you. You're not the silence that followed. Okay, you're not any of that. Okay, you created in God's image. you are loved and you are seen. And through faith, you are being restored. Okay? You're being restored, not to who you were before the pain, but to who you were always from the beginning and who you were always meant to be. So today, choose, you guys, choose a new story. Erase that shame and create a new story, okay? One written not in shame, but in grace, not in fear, but in truth. Because the same God who knows your wounds also knows your worth. Yes, he knows your worth. And he's not ashamed of you. He's not ashamed of you, okay? He is healing you. That's right, he's healing you. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me again on Trauma Talks. Okay, I really appreciate you. Okay, I'm Krystal Boothe, and please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, and check out the next video. Okay, on we're gonna be doing more topics around shame, so check them out. Okay, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, great spending time with you today. Okay.